welcome to Caring for New Hampshire. This is a part of our Upfront and Personal series with presidential candidates from 2012. I'm so glad that you're joining us again, and we do have another candidate with us here tonight, and this is presidential candidate,
Michael Meehan.
Michael Meehan.
An unknown, don't worry, nobody knows me.
I didn't know that, and I apologize. We've been doing a series of shows, and so I think my mind is starting to shut down a little bit, but I am thrilled to have you with us tonight. And so, Mr. Meehan, explain to us just a little bit, this is upfront and personal. We want to know a little bit about you, and then tell us, what spurred you to throw your hat in the ring for presidential race?
Yeah, that question's a tough one. I'm originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I grew up there. My dad was an engineer, and my mother was stay-at-home, so I had a good childhood and everything. And then I escaped and moved on to Las Vegas, Nevada, California, Knoxville, Tennessee. I traveled a lot around the country, and I really enjoyed it. I did. I learned how to tend bar. And then from there, learned how to do did construction in that before. And I actually had a job. My first job was an assistant to assistant manager. It was $1.60 an hour.
Oh, gosh, that was a while ago.
Yeah.
Huh?
And then I got a job for U.S. Steel. And part of the getting into it is the fact that there are no U.S. Steel jobs for the young people anymore. So I actually was out in Los Angeles, and I used to date a girl who's currently my wife. I used to date her in high school, and her boyfriend caught us together kissing in the driveway, and so I didn't see her after that. But at our 10-year high school reunion, she was in Los Angeles, I was in California. So when I went out there, I looked around to see if I could find some people. And we sat down. We are the same age. We graduated together. We were both married within 5 days of one another. We were both divorced within 30 days of one another. We had no kids, and we both left Pennsylvania on the same year.
Wow.
We sat down at the bar, and we had the same drink, which was not a common drink. And a year and a half later, we were married. And we just celebrated 25 years in August.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So we left Los Angeles and went to St. Louis, and that was partly because of her work. She was an executive secretary, and her boss had asked her to come with them. And we're from Pittsburgh originally, so we're getting older. It's a nice way to get back home, closer to home from Los Angeles. And we're getting older, and Los Angeles isn't as much fun as it used to be anymore.
It's also a little more broke, isn't it?
But it was really nice because Los Angeles has such a high standard of living. To buy a house, a little 2-bedroom house, back then, now this would be 20 years ago, was like $225,000. And you come to St. Louis, and I could have bought a 5-bedroom monstrosity for the same amount of money. So to go to St. Louis was exciting, actually. We felt rich. Then I decided, she had said, look, I've got the job. Why don't you do something you wanted to do? Go to school or whatever. And so I went to school for real estate, which was real nice. It was 3 weeks, I think. Passed the test, became a real estate broker, and I had a real estate agent, and I had a really good broker. And I always wanted to own investment property. And so he kind of taught me. Now the catch was that what most people would say is when I was in California, I did my first real estate deal. It was a limited partnership, so I really didn't have any control. I invested money, $10,000, which $4,000 I borrowed. So it was our entire life savings, and I lost it all. And my wife's like, you're not very good at this, are you? So when we moved to St. Louis, I bought some rental property, and I tried to fix it up, and I lost a contract. And then I put more money into it, lost another contract, and she's like, you're not very good at this, are you? And I'm thinking, what am I doing here? And she said, why don't you rent it? And that started me. And now I have several rental properties, and I'm a real estate broker. And I've been doing it 18 years in real estate and about 14 years in rental property.
Wow.
So, yeah. And you get to meet a lot of people. It's hard. One of the properties I bought was for a woman that had, she had a stroke. And they had finally found a home right by their son, which was pretty far out from St. Louis. And they couldn't sell theirs. And my wife's like, don't buy it, don't buy it, don't buy it. But you feel so bad. And it was, back then, the banks would give you the money. They would give you the money to fix it up, and they would refinance it for you. So it cost you nothing to buy a home if you knew the right people. And I bought the home. They gave me the money to fix it up. I refinanced it. It didn't cost me anything to own the property. And, you know, what a great country we live in.
Yeah.
Right?
To be able to be an entrepreneur.
Right. You can't do that nowadays. But
Well, I know that the whole industry has changed dramatically.
yes, it has. And probably for the good. See, people look at it down times. What I look at is the fact that I lost that $10,000. I didn't quit. And when I couldn't sell the first property I bought, the flip, I couldn't, you know, I didn't quit is what I should say. But I couldn't. That's not
You found
me.
another alternative, another
Right.
market, another.
There's something out there, and I think that's where people lose the initiative. They get so depressed because something goes wrong. And the greatest thing I ever heard was, how do you become successful through experience, and how do you get experience through failure? Now that
Well, you got to get out there and do something.
right. But if you got a test and you miss one question and the teacher hands back the test, what are you doing? You're waiting to see for them to get to that answer. Why did you don't remember the other 9 questions. You remember the one you missed.
Right.
And so failure and experience kind of go hand in hand. Once you make a mistake, a lot of times, maybe you make it a second or third time, but if you don't quit, if you keep going. Right. Now,
so what's driven you to get into the presidential world?
I think what it was because I don't know. I've never been a mayor or a city council or school board or anything like that. I'm basically a businessman. And I started to notice with the downturn of real estate, it's hurting. And then, you know, I would do side jobs just to keep myself going. And I would be going into nursing homes and hospitals. And I started talking to people. And to be honest, the main reason I'm doing it is for the young people. I don't think they realize what $15 trillion in debt is.
I don't realize.
Right.
You know, the other day I tried to do something on my calculator that would have $1 billion on it, and it couldn't even do it. No. So I cannot comprehend $1 trillion. And you know what's so interesting about that is my youngest daughter and I, one day it was just maybe right before Christmas, and she was saying, Mom, do you realize that even just a year ago, we didn't even use the word $1 trillion in our vocabulary? Right. Now we throw it around like it's nothing. Nothing. But just even, you know, a year ago, it was not a word that we used in our vocabulary. Right. It's totally incomprehensible to me. I can't, even $1 billion, I can't fathom that. So trillions is like.
I think if you line them up, it'd take you to the moon and back or something. Dollar bills, if you line them up.
Oh my gosh.
It's something ridiculous.
That is ridiculous.
And I did look it up. It's about 1900, we had a $200 billion deficit. And so 1900 till somewhere in the 80s. I know there was a debt clock in Los Angeles. And when it got up to $1 trillion, they had to stop it. I didn't think it was conceivable, right?
Right.
Now, if you just, I thought it was somewhere around, it had to be between, like, let's say 85, 86, 89, something like that. So let's just take 85. They've been through a Great Depression, World War II, Korean War, Vietnam War. That's 75. They haven't hit $1 trillion. Give it 10 more years. And I've been saying to people, I thought it was in 89, but in 89, so that's 14 years, they hit $1 trillion. So between then and now, they've taken it up 14 trillion over that one. And most of it has been between George Bush and Mr. Obama. So, and I do get mad when people say, you know, Mr. Obama did it or Mr. Bush. They both have done it. And they throw money at problems or whatever.
Yeah, so I noticed on some of your points that you were saying that you really would like to see a balanced budget within 4 years.
Yeah.
And are you able to
What
share
I'd like
how
to do
you'd like
is
to do
I'd like to
about
do
doing
an
that?
amendment for a balanced budget. Now, if you can go on the internet, Congress,
Yep.
I've gone back over 20 years. We need a balanced budget amendment. We need a balanced budget amendment. And
Well, the House
they've
passed
never
one.
done it. Yeah, but I think it's a farce because it gets to the Senate. How can one vote not do it? It's their play money. Now think about it. What they do is they take money from the deficit, not from the budget, because we have no budget. It's a deficit, right? They take the money and they take it back to the states and the corporations. They say, see what I did for you, now send me back. So the lobbyists and the corporations give money and get them back in, okay? Now what happens is people talk about term limits, and I'm really against term limits. Let's just say, for the sake of the argument, you just got elected, and I've been there for 12 years. Now I have a 12-year term limit. You come in and you actually like what I've been doing, and you're saying, Michael, I'll tell you what, I'd like you to kind of teach me, and it would be a nice thought, but I'm on my way out. I'll see you later. So now all of a sudden you have all these people in there trying to run the greatest government in the world, and they're new. There's committees, there's billions of dollars, and you have people that have only 12 years experience doing it.
Oh, but you got the staffers. See, the staffers are the ones that
Do any
are
most
there,
of the work
and they
anyways.
go. I mean, I've been to the Hill,
Yeah.
and I know. And you know, you go there,
but
and
still
after
the
an
point
election,
is-
you'll see a staffer in different, you know, offices. So they're the ones that really
But
are
it still
running the game.
comes down to the fact that experience is a value.
It is valuable.
My opinion is the first thing that I want to do is I always say to people, we're going to eliminate, when senators and representatives leave, we're going to eliminate the retirement and the benefits, all of them. In other words, you come in, Thomas Jefferson believed, you come in,
Right.
you serve, and you go back to your business or whatever, right?
Because it's supposed to be a citizen government.
Right. It's a serving. I think they lost that word, serve. So what happens is you take away their retirement and you take away the money. Now they have nothing to take to the corporations. How's the corporations going to get tax loopholes and whatever when there's nothing to give them? You have to balance the budget. And I had a friend say, what about war? And I thought about it. I thought, yeah. And then in all honesty, I thought Congress would start a war. I thought we can't have any exceptions. You have to have a balanced budget. Now, look. What they're going to do is they're going to raise taxes. Well, then they raise taxes, and you vote them in, you vote them out. Or they take it from the rich or the poor or whatever they do. But somehow it's Congress's job to do the budget. If you turn around and you balance it by the law of the land. Now, here's the catch. They're never going to do eliminate their retirement. Come on, let's get real. And they're not going to balance the budget. They're not going to do it.
Well, they haven't done it in what? How many years?
Well,
the
like I
last
said,
3 years we haven't had a balanced
but if
budget.
you go in, I actually went
we
in
haven't
and
even, we don't even have a budget. Let me rephrase
right,
that. We do not have
how
a
can
budget.
you balance it?
Right.
Right. So that's what I did. I went in, and that's when I pulled up this video, and it had senators and representatives going back. It was over 20 years. We need a balanced budget amendment. And they kept saying it, but nobody ever did it. And I understand. I don't blame Congress. There's a system, and they play it quite well. I don't blame corporations. The corporations, their job is to make money, and they do it. They make money. I mean, that's the way it's set up. So I don't believe, I think you could do your term limits. That now you have state senators and representatives that might be crooked there coming in, and they have 12 years to make as much as they possibly can out of the deal, right? So the catch is to try to change the type of people you have serving.
You know, did you know here in New Hampshire, in our Constitution, we're actually mandated by our state constitution to ensure that the people that we're electing are of high morals and piety and all of the good things. They're just,
And they don't get paid very much, do they?
And here in New Hampshire, they get paid nothing, really and truthfully. I think they get $100 or something like that a year, which doesn't even cover the cost of gas for most of them that are coming
I thought it
from
was a month
north
or
or the west or whatever. You know, they really are doing it out of service to the state.
Right.
So
now you have a different type of people coming in, and you
yes,
know, and people are always going to complain about everything. It can't, you know, what I wanted to do was I want to have an amendment for a balanced budget, and Congress won't do it. So my big thing is this: they have in the Constitution, Article 5. It's called a Convention of the People. Okay, so it's basically a constitutional amendment by Convention of the People. And I upset so many people with this because they're like, well, each state has a different way of doing it.
yes,
So, but what if you got one state, just one state, to ratify that? Now all of a sudden, you might have a succession of 23, 24. Okay. Now it doesn't end there, but you've got it started. You see what I mean? Now all of a sudden, now they're really talking about it. Congress does not want to start. There's a lot of people say this. Well, you never want to start that. You know, you don't want to start this where the states are making their own amendments. So then Congress would see it happen, and maybe they would do it.
so you see it as being like a fuel.
Consider this.
Fire.
I'm on the ballot in New Hampshire for the President of the United States. Okay. Now my wife says I have the passion, determination. I'm a little bit crazy. I'm perfect for the job. Okay. Coming here, I've been here. Today is my 56th day I've been living here in New Hampshire. So I spent Thanksgiving and Christmas in a motel with Chinese food. That's basically the only thing open at that time. And I buckled down. I've been from Keene all the way to Pittsburgh. I came down around the White Mountain National Forest. I've done the center of the state. I visited the colleges. I go to all the small towns. The small towns really take time to talk to you. They stop what they're doing and they sit, pull up a chair. I'm like, well, I'm going to be here a while, right? In the cities, it's a little bit more hustle and bustle, and I don't like to just hand someone a card and walk away. Okay. Now, let's say there's 30 people running on the Republican ticket.
There are.
Yeah, 30 people, and I think it's the most ever to run for Republicans, okay? And I'm the 23rd name down. I'm right above Ron Paul. I always say he gets no respect. Even on the ballot, he's down at the bottom. But what is it going to take for someone to check my name? Let's be realistic. There is no way, I'm not insane, there's no way in the world that someone like me is going to finish 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe not even 5, okay? But here's the way it works. What if I work harder than all the other unknowns with 10 major candidates, okay? And I work harder than all the other unknowns. And there's only really about 5 or 6 of us actually out here working, talking to people and that. The rest of them, I guess, want to be president, and so they signed up, right? Paid $1,000, and they're on the ballot. But if I could finish number 11, you have Herman Cain's gone. Gary Johnson moved to the Libertarian Party. Michelle Bachmann just went out. I'm already up to 8. Okay, now, what happens if, let's just say hypothetically, Mr. Huntsman doesn't make it here any better than he did in Iowa, or Rick Perry? Now all of a sudden, I'm at 5 or 6. Now, what it does is, it doesn't make me president. Okay, first of all, it's a ballot box. So nobody gets the job. It's just a ballot. I mean, it's a primary. That's all it is, right? So you go in and you go to check the other candidates, and a lot of people were like, you know what? It's insanity to vote for them over and over again. I've been doing it for years, and they don't feel like they're doing anything for them. So you come down to Mike Meehan. I can't do it. It's a wasted vote. I just can't do it. And I don't blame you. But it's no more a wasted vote than how you feel about them. Now, the young people, they haven't voted, so they're willing to vote for me. And they'll say, I'll vote for you. And I tell them, you know, do some tweeting or whatever and let your friends know, okay? I don't have a problem with the middle-aged people. I've had a gentleman that said, I have 2 sons at home. If you'll get them out, you don't even have to get them jobs, but if you get them out, I'll vote for you.
You definitely are getting right into meeting with the local people and finding out where.
I've heard some stories. I have a book, and what I do is it just says if the President of the United States walked in, and now I'm not saying myself, and I tell them not even the current president, just somebody else came in and everybody liked him, so that's fantasy off the top, right? But this president walks in and says, you have one question or one comment, what would it be? And I started asking people this over a year ago, and I started getting these answers, and I noticed a lot of them were the same. So then what I do is I says, well, I got to start writing it down. And you can see teachers help take care of the children. Okay. This one I always like. It's a nurse, and she didn't say pay herself more. She said pay policemen more.
Interesting.
Right? And I mean, they go on. You got people that are mad, you know, and it just goes on and on. This is a gentleman that knows more about the Constitution and the Federal Reserve than I do. I was amazed. I spent an hour, and he's in a gas station. He's 24 years old, had a good job, lost it, and he's in a gas station making $8 an hour. And there's, you know, the young woman complaining that she's working for $7 an hour. And you know what? And the guy comes in with food stamps in a Cadillac and well-dressed. And she knows that somebody bought drugs and gave him the card to use. And, you know, she's thinking, man, I don't want to be on welfare. I don't want to do this, you know. And what got me going was I feel for the young people. I really do. I started talking to them over and over and finding out, you know what? They don't really have a voice because they don't vote. And the seniors have the voice. I mean, the seniors are the ones that vote, and they don't really want anything changed. I don't blame them. They're depending on their Social Security and Medicare and that, and so they don't want anything changed there. And Rick Santorum was just in town, and he said that our, I don't know, he said it, but he says our defense is 20% of the budget. It's the Medicare and Medicaid and Social Security and that is, not Social Security, but it was welfare and the SSDI, like the, for the people hurting and that, disabilities. That's what's taking from us. Now, the problem with this country is their welfare is set up with give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. And we shouldn't be doing that. We should be teaching a man to fish. Now, if you really wanted to have reform, then what happens is, let's say, okay, you have 5 years. Now, I go on welfare and I go for 2 years, and I'm done, and I get a good job, and I learned something, and I start paying it back. So maybe 50 cents on the dollar. So I paid for the year, and I got my 5 years, and I always have that. It's always there for me. But if you're going to be on it for 5 years, and you're not going to, we're paying for your food, for where you live, and giving you money, and we're going to probably pay for your education. You're not going to do anything with it. Then you no longer become our problem. You're your own problem, right? The other thing is, I always feel bad because I just feel like.
So just to rephrase, you're saying that you feel like welfare should have like limits on how long you can be on.
It should be. If you're gonna, it should be a teach a man to fish type thing. Okay. So if you're going to be on welfare, then somehow there should be some work. I think when people work, they feel good.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Right? Even they might complain about it, but you feel a lot better even doing a job you don't like than you do not working at all. Right. Because now you're in this dilemma. You can't find a job. You can't take care of your family and whatever. You're starting to hurt. Now, this is the problem that I have. You have most of the money up here for the federal government and the state and the city and the counties, and I really believe this. 50% of all money that you make, if it's going to be whatever is taxed, not what you make, 50% of all taxes you pay should be kept right here in the city and the county. Okay, and then you can move the programs from the federal government down and let the counties. One, is why is one government taking care of 308 million people? And I had a gentleman say how he tried to call on somebody that was fraud on welfare. And he spent 3 days talking to umpteen different people, and each one would send them, and we'll get back with you tomorrow, and then and we'll get back with you tomorrow. And they did get back with him, and they did talk to him, and he ended up back with the exact same person that he started with.
No.
Right? And he's like, forget it.
Yeah.
Now, if it were on a county level, I mean, you could...
High accountability.
Right. You could hire detectives, private investigators, not pay them anything. Anyone they find, then they would get that check for 3 months, let's say. And you would lose your, if you're fraud, then you would lose your chances for welfare, right? Or whatever. And what happens is, as the private investigators they stop calling, you know the fraud's gone down because there's no work for them. I mean, but if...
Well, that's one tactic.
Yeah, what if you keep things in a local level?
I agree with you. I agree with you. And you know what? Here in New Hampshire, we really believe that philosophy, and we live it.
You have no state income tax.
Well, not only that, but we try to keep things as local level as we possibly can, right from how we fund our education to, you know, our making our laws and how we govern ourselves. So.
And there was just something to do with the tests, and apparently the federal government was going to withhold back a certain amount of money. See what? Now they're telling you how to do your education.
Yes,
It's a shame. It is a shame.
It's a shame. Well, it's been great to have you, and it's been a pleasure getting to know you and finding out more about where you're coming from and where you'd like to go. And boy, we really wish you the best as you're out here, and I'm sure that New Hampshire is the better for having met you.
Thank you.
And
I met so many people. I'm tired. I am really tired.
Well, New Hampshire is a great place, and we're so glad that you've had an opportunity to come and stay with us for a couple of months.
Yeah.
So,
I appreciate the time.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And we are just so glad to be able to have an opportunity to get to know these people and that understand why they're running for such a large office and the responsibilities thereof. And we just wish you the best, and join us next time on Caring for New Hampshire. God bless you.